What's up, y'all? Thank you for joining me. I'm gonna make it quick. I'm gonna keep it short. So I'm glad you're here. Now imagine this. Imagine if taxes just vanished overnight. Sounds kind of awesome, right? But then the government still needs cash. So guess what they turn to? Tariffs. That means even though you don't see a deduction on your paycheck, you're still gonna feel it when the prices rise. Now while tariffs slowly impact industries over months, the Fed is busy controlling money flow with the interest rates or the lack of cutting it. Then there's crypto. People are looking at Bitcoin as an alternative to traditional money. And get this, there's even talk about the US selling gold to buy more Bitcoin. Today, guys, I'm breaking all of this down, what it means for our wallets, what it means for the economy, and ultimately what it means for us. Let's talk about it. So imagine this, what if taxes just disappeared tomorrow? Sounds kind of cool, right? I mean, more money in our pocket, no deductions from our paycheck, but you know it's not that simple. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. See, just because the government stops taxing our income doesn't mean they stop needing money. They're gonna find another way to get it. And one of the biggest ways is through tariffs. Now, I've talked about tariffs in another previous video. I know it sounds like one of those boring political words, but in a nutshell, it's basically a tax on the stuff that we import, products, goods, materials from other countries. Specifically from China. Have you looked at most of the... Anyway, when those businesses have to pay more to bring things in, guess who ends up covering that cost? You guessed it. That's right, us. We do. Prices go up, money doesn't stretch as far, and before you know it, we're paying in a different way, just not through our paychecks. And depending on the industry, this is the wild part. We're not gonna feel it right away. Depending on the industry, it takes a while to show up. So for example, like the farming and agriculture, give it about 6 to 12 months. Manufacturing, give it about 6 to 9 months, maybe 6 to 9 months. And then the retail, like groceries or shipping, 3 to 6 months top. So guess what? We're feeling it this year. We're going to feel it. We're going to feel it. And then the lower income communities, usually they feel it first because you know every little price change hits harder. This is where we are, guys. This is where we are. But yo, that's not the only piece. While all that's happening, the Federal Reserve is doing its thing behind the scenes too. You know, setting the interest rates, and because that's the system that we're in, controlling how the money flows. You know, when they raise the interest rates, borrowing gets harder, people spend less, business slows, which is kind of like where we've been last couple of years. And when they lower the interest rates, which is kind of like where they've been going, people borrow more, people spend more, but then boom, inflation shows up as if it already hasn't been here. But you know, it's that system that we've chosen. Well, I didn't choose, but you know, you get what I'm trying to say. That system is a delicate dance, and a lot of people are not even paying attention to it. While all this is happening, in the middle of all this, crypto's just sitting in the background like, hey, when you guys are tired of all this back and forth and all this centralized control, just come over here, got you. That's why people keep looking at things like Bitcoin or Ethereum. If you haven't heard of it yet, unless you've been living under a rock, come on now. They want something that's not controlled by a handful of people in a boardroom. Now here's where it gets a little bit more interesting. There's talk about the US potentially buying more Bitcoin. Now we know they're not taxing us because you know they're not going to do that, but they are taxing us in a different way. Like maybe even using the tariff revenue to do it. It sounds smart in theory, like a power move to strengthen the economy. But again, who's paying that price at the ground level? You know, I read, it was CZ said it, and I think I heard Michael Saylor say it also, but the country is gonna be a fight for the country that prints the most money to buy more Bitcoin. But you know, printing the money, of course, devalues the currency in so many ways. I don't know. It all depends on how you look at it. Okay. The question is it about how good the economy looks to the world, or how good life feels to the average person here at home? And then there's even talk about the U.S. selling off gold to buy Bitcoin. Could be a bold play. Sounds crazy. Could be a bold play. Or it could backfire in the long run but we don't know. Matter of fact, what's your thoughts on it? Because it really depends on how you look at it. Go ahead and comment below. tell me what you think. Is it a smart move to sell gold and buy more Bitcoin? Should the U.S. start printing more money to buy more Bitcoin? Comment below. But you know, when I'm talking about all of this, it raises the question: who benefits from this kind of shift, and who's left dealing with the aftermath? You guessed it, us. But you know, honestly, guys, I'm just thinking out loud. These are just my thoughts. I'm just looking at it from a different perspective. I'm trying to bring it to your, bring light to you so that you can look at it from a different perspective. Because you know, because all this, the taxes, the tariffs, the rate hikes, the crypto, the gold, is bigger than we realize. And if we're not watching where the money's going, if we're not stewards of our own finances, who is really protecting us? Gotta ask those questions, because you know, at the end of the day, the government can do what it wants with its money. The feds can play with the interest rates all day, because the economy is theirs to control. But my money, that's my money. Your money, that's your money. That's still ours. If you choose to take control, not just react, but plan, move, and protect what's yours before someone else does. It's your boy. Hey, listen. Remember to like, comment, share. I got a lot more coming. I'm just gonna end it right there. Catch y'all on the next one.